Happy Wednesday, YouTube. Happy Wednesday, everyone. And I'd like to introduce my guests, Gunderson.
Oi, oi.
And Ujames.
The great holy donkey blesses you all.
Aha. And joining us for the first time this week, Dee.
Hello.
Right, we kind of have a twofold topic this week, which is the colossal waste of time, energy and money, which is the war on drugs, and how the international mood regarding drugs is moving, thankfully, away from punishment and towards treatment. And I'm going to go in the order I can see you. Dee, your thoughts?
It's a colossal waste of money. I mean, one of the issues, because we have this war on terror and we have this war on drugs, but part of the problem is if you were to legalize, especially legalize cannabis and other things, a lot of heroin production actually funds, or unless I'm completely mistaken, it could be. From my understanding, is a lot of heroin production actually funds the terrorists. We're alleged, well, I say terrorists. Let's not get into that argument. That we're actually fighting. So. Actually having this war on drugs, and it's putting the price of drugs up, or instead of growing it, I know you can't grow heroin in the UK, but there's other parts of the world you could grow it in, rather than having to buy it from Afghanistan illegally. So it's kind of counterproductive.
Oh, okay. And you, James, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, what you were saying about fighting a war on drugs whilst supposedly fighting a war on terrorism, leaving aside the whole question of what is actually a terrorist, anyone who we hate. But yes, not only allowing criminals, organisations to profit from heroin illegally, but also giving blind support and money to the House of Saud, who in turn fund terrorism and the spread of Wahhabism across the world, actually creating terrorists. It's all a complete fucked up mess. But yes, sticking entirely to narcotics, it's not a total waste of money because people profit from the for-profit prisons, which are being built all over America. As long as people get 20 years or life imprisonment for owning for possession of an ounce of marijuana, then yes, companies in the US and politicians in the US can continue to make millions of dollars, billions of dollars from keeping prisoners as slave labour. And yes, the fact that the number of addicts continues to increase, the number of deaths caused by overdoses, etc., which would be less of an issue if, especially drugs like narcotics like heroin were prescribed by a doctor. The fact that deaths continue to increase, the fact that, according to this article, SWAT teams, basically police acting like soldiers, kicking down doors, shooting anything that moves, and actually using grenades, are killing people, in many cases innocent. One case here listed in the article, a 2-year-old baby having his chest blown open when a grenade was thrown into his crib. All because we have to stop the drugs. We have to stop... What? You mean like nicotine? Nicotine, Valium, alcohol. No. The bad drugs. And why exactly... Yeah, why exactly are they the bad drugs? Well, because we say so. It is all one vast titanic mess of bigotry and ignorance and fear. Yes, what you were talking, Dee, about cannabis production versus heroin production. After the legalization of cannabis in at least 2 American states recently, many Mexican farmers have stopped growing cannabis and started growing heroin because cannabis isn't profitable anymore. heroin is profitable. So obviously, you see, there's still a drug problem. Well, yes, because if one thing is legal and another thing is illegal, the black market is going to try and make profit from the illegal thing. So the solution is... but, yes.
Okay, and Gunderson.
I think I have a fair amount to say on this. I just want to say first to James, I think maybe I wasn't listening and you brought this up, but I think you've neglected to mention that in the influence of racism on America's drug laws.
Oh, yes.
So making marijuana illegal to try and racially profile the Hispanic community, and heroin illegal to profile the black people, that kind of stuff. So there's that as well. But okay, at least most of the overarching points I think have already been brought up. But I think to be a bit more specific to, I guess, Europe and the UK, it does seem like we were in the UK making a step towards that 10 years ago when, so in 2004, the Home Office, back when David Blunkett was the Home Secretary, decided to move cannabis down to a Class C drug, when it had been a Class B drug since 1924. And so basically, it was actually shown in the 5 years before 2009 that it actually saved like 100,000 police hours, or maybe it was 200,000, because not arresting people for possession. And so, but the thing is, they kind of, I think that like the next Labour government following them, they seem to do like a 180 on that under the then Home Secretary Jackie Smith, because they moved it back up to a Class B drug. But the thing is, it still seems like even today the police in the UK don't really focus particularly heavily on possession, even though technically they're supposed to. They still don't really prioritize it. So even in terms of like de facto policy, that still seems to be the trend, towards, or at least in this case, it's dealing more with the suppliers than the consumers. Mm. So it does seem like it's at least moving that way, even if, regardless of how much the naysayers may try to prevent it.
Mm.
And also interesting, James, that you bring up, the double standard regarding like alcohol and tobacco, because like at my college we did a debate about this once that I was involved in about legalizing cannabis, and basically one of the opponents' arguments was basically these two drugs, the only reason they can't really be made illegal is because they're too well established in our society. And they even basically just said, if they weren't that well established, we'd make them illegal too.
Yeah.
Mm.
Which is just, you're missing the point completely.
Yes, but...
I was going to say, can I just point out, I can't remember the exact date, but in recent history, the government, when I say employed, they hired Professor David Nutt to be their expert on drugs, and he is a psychiatrist, and I believe his specialisation is the research on the effects of drugs. Basically, he didn't give them the answers he wanted. He was unpaid. He did this for free. He didn't give them the results he wanted, so they sacked him.
Yeah, that was when they moved it back up to Class B.
Yeah, I think it.
Go ahead.
They sacked him
about 5 or 10 years ago or something. It wasn't that long ago, was it?
It was in 2009. when they moved it back up to Class B.
Oh, right, yeah.
They sacked the leading scientific advisor for saying this is a shit idea.
Yeah.
Right. So to clarify, Dee of course meant he didn't give them the results they wanted.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if it's the same thing we're both referring to, but I get the feeling it is.
James?
Yes, just basically, this is the perfect example of when it comes to narcotics, when it comes to sex work, when it comes to other similar quote-unquote moral issues and moral laws. It's got nothing to do with facts, it's got nothing to do with evidence, it's got nothing to do with statistics. It's all about bigotry, ignorance and fear. The fact that the police, the scientific evidence, everyone agrees, every statistic agrees. You decriminalise cannabis, you save lives, you save police hours, you save money, the prisons are less overcrowded, etc. None of that matters because the people who vote don't like cannabis. They think, ooh, it's a nasty drug, and they're terrified. They're gateway drug. They're terrified of potheads and junkies stealing our jobs and taking our women.
And collecting benefits at the same time.
Yeah, that's it. That is it in a nutshell. I am so tired of ramming the same evidence down people's throats regarding sex work. Sweden for the love of the great holy donkey. Britain for the great love of the great holy donkey. Crimes against women, go down. Violent crimes, go down. Sexually transmitted diseases, go down.
And I think...
Back to drugs.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was going to interject.
I know you're passionate about that, but let's stay on topic.
But no, it's exactly
yeah, I see what you mean. It's the same
issue.
Same mindset.
Aye.
Isn't it? It's the same mindset of.
Okay, Gunderson, were you not quite finished?
No, I will. It's not really relevant to the topic at hand, so I'll say it when we're done recording.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, I'll open up the floor. Does anybody have anything to add?
I was going to. One of the reasons. I mean, there's two. To the best of my knowledge, there's two definitions of gateway drug. Usually when people talk about cannabis being gateway drug, what the problem is because it's illegal, you go to buy it, you are introduced to drug dealers. Hence it becomes a gateway to other drugs. Now the original, to the best of my knowledge, I could be incorrect about this, that the gateway term refers to the effect it has on your brain. Apparently, the best gateway drug... You're right there, Gundy. The best gateway drug is, research indicates, is in fact nicotine, because nicotine affects the I can't remember now. It affects the release of dopamine, which makes, when you smoke, drinking or taking other drugs becomes more pleasurable. So, yeah.
And also in the UK, this is basically... I think I don't know if this practice would still continue if pot was legal, but I mean the thing is it's very standard in the UK to smoke weed with tobacco. Yeah, I think that's a European thing generally. So, and I get the feeling that it being illegal probably exacerbates that practice. Because, apparently, I don't know, maybe I'm talking out my arse there, and it would still continue if it was... But I'm not sure if that... what he was saying made me think about that.
Generally, the most common way, to the best of my knowledge, is, you roll up a joint, which is where you get some Rizzlers, put some tobacco in there, put some dope, cannabis, call it what you want, in there and smoke it. But there are plenty of other ways, allegedly, so I've heard, of consuming it that do not involve the intake of tobacco. You can smoke it through a pipe as well, where you just
bong.
You can bake it. You can
cook it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can bake it. There's a thing I've heard. I don't know if it's true or not. There's such a thing called a butter bang. So there are other methods of imbuing cannabis without involving tobacco.
Oh, okay. Right, well, I think we're more or less done, so I'll go around and ask for final thoughts and goodbyes, beginning with Dee.
The war on drugs is, in my opinion, well, Ujames did make a point which I hadn't thought about, is the money made from private prisons in America. But in the rest of the world, which, believe it or not, America, there is one. Sorry. I just think it's pointless, and we should be looking into researching about addiction and helping people rather than throwing them into prison, costing taxpayers money, and being twats about it.
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay, and you, James?
Yes, Dee pointed out, you're so passionate about the legalisation of sex work, and yes, I am passionate about the decriminalisation, legalisation, whatever term we wish to use, of narcotics as well, because it's killing people, literally. Our bigotry and ignorance is killing people. It is ruining lives for nothing. Mm-hmm. And may the great holy donkey forgive us all, for we know not what we do.
And finally, Gunderson?
Yep, I think I've just said everything that I need to say, so ta-ra and that.
Okay, well, it's a thing that's come up on the show a couple of times before. Ultimately, inevitably, we will all come around to realising that addiction is something that needs to be treated, not punished. Mm-hmm. Let's hope it's sooner rather than later.
Generally, I think that could be applied to crime generally. Like, punishing people doesn't really help.
Well, in some cases, prison isn't necessarily punishment. You're just keeping them away from society.
Yeah, the only...
I could do a whole show on what I think of prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's a separate topic, generally.
Yes, okay.
That could be its own show one day. Should the show return?
Yes, because this is the last week of London After Midnight.
Is it? Oh, I didn't know
The great holy donkey is weeping. The hamster of prosperity has curled into a little ball.
The show may come back as occasional specials and also may come back for a second season. It depends. But for now, the show is at least, shall we say, resting.
Yeah. Which
means that tomorrow, which as we all know is Thursday, will be, for the moment at least,
the end of the season. The show is going on hiatus.
The end of the world.
Yeah, I was thinking of that and all.
Yes, well, we'll see what Sidney Newman and Mervyn Pinfield and all the other suits at the BBC think of commissioning a second... Oh, sorry, that's Doctor Who I'm thinking of. Okay, this has been Verity Lambert. I mean Alex Wiley. And for the meantime, at least, good night, YouTube. Good night, everyone.